Hi, everyone, and welcome to our show. Today, we will have a very interesting topic. Today, we will talk a little bit about what it's like being a mom in tech. And we have a lot of interesting statistics on that topic. For example, one of the very famous statistical data is that nearly 50% of women in tech leave tech by age of 35, which, of course, coincides with childbearing years. And today we have a very interesting guest, Uzma Hafiz. She is a program manager at Microsoft, and she's also mom of three. So, Uzma, welcome to the show. Happy to have you with us today.
Thank you.
So, before we begin, can you tell our guests a little bit about your career journey and how you got into tech?
Sure. I would be happy to share that. Thank you, Igor. Thank you, Shivam, for inviting me on this platform. And I'm really excited to talk about my journey. Yeah, so I graduated from one of the prestigious colleges from India, and had always been ambitious about my career, that whenever, wherever I would like to pursue my career along with my family. But yeah, one of the biggest thing which I was always had a fear about, like how would I be able to continue once I settled down with my family? So here comes a topic which you have chosen. So I would say that your career and your goals, they do align with the kind of support system you have. So thankfully, I'm blessed to have a very supporting husband who helps me out in my day-to-day activities. I started as an analyst in my career, and here am I working as a program manager from last 10 years into various roles. The kind of support from the husband and of course from my manager, all these things had really led me to pursue my aim and my ambitions.
Yeah, this is a three is quite a handful, Uzma. You set the bar high of how to make it all happen. But let's go a little bit deeper into when you were starting off. What were some of your apprehensions? Being an ambitious woman comes with a bit of a tax that we all have to pay, especially coming from traditional backgrounds. There's always a pressure of you should be married by this age, you should have kids by that age, and you should be a grandmother by another age. But tell me a little bit about that journey. How did you curb those voices or shut down those voices that were telling you to follow those traditional paths?
One thing I always believe is I just go by my own confidence and my own inner voice. I never get discouraged by the voices I hear from the people. Like, just as an example, like being a working woman, along with that, like having three daughters is again another taboo. So if you have that will to continue to work, and I know that we have been judged a lot of times as a working woman, like, how come you are working along with three kids and you're not focusing on your family a lot? That kind of a you get from the people. But I think things have been changing now. It all depends on you. If you think that you have the ability to go to, nothing can stop you. So I do have childcare support for my little one who is turning 2. And along with that, I have two daughters who are very much self-dependent, and they do adapt based upon the days when it's super crazy for me. So they manage to make their own breakfast, and my husband is there when I'm not there to help them out. So my husband is a crucial support for me. So like the days my meetings have been extending, or the days like I'm not able to completely focus on what has to be cooked, or if the kids needs to be dropped off, he's there to take care of that. So I think if you have managed that support system for yourself, then you're all good to go.
Yeah, support systems are really important, and we actually have some interesting questions for you from our listeners, but we will ask those in the end. I want to circle back to your role of program manager at Microsoft. Can you tell us a little bit about what exactly do you do in that role, and maybe walk us through your typical workday?
Sure. So as a program manager, I play a central role in ensuring projects, people, and systems, everything align seamlessly to deliver the impactful results. So my days are often dynamic, like involving a mix of meetings with project leads and stakeholders, clearing any roadblocks, setting any priorities, or driving any outcomes. And a lot of time, like my days is spent connecting with people, whether it's, aligning on the project goals or brainstorming solutions to challenges. It's fast paced, but it's incredibly rewarding, especially when I see the tangible impact on the efforts I have made.
And it's not very different from the program management you have to do at home, isn't it, Uzma?
Correct. I do have little program managers at home. The thing is, the goals are different, the demands are different. Yeah.
Yeah. We had LP, our last guest, talk about it. She actually gave the example of how she grew up in a household where she was the older sister. Just managing dinner for the family was equivalent to managing a project. That could be said about you.
With you. I think that's why we women are famous for multitasking because, we know how to manage so many chores at the same time.
Yes, it's a superpower. Very few men will acknowledge, and I think the ones that do, we end up marrying those ones.
I think that's the biggest fear before you get married. Yeah. Like whether you get a supporting partner or not.
True. Let's talk a little bit about that actually. A life of a woman in tech is full of those pivotal moments where these fears will come and haunt you from time to time. The first happens when you're getting married. You don't know if you're going to be in the same city. Will you have to move, relocate? The second happens when you have kids. And the third happens when we have aging parents. And a lot of us are in that phase where, catching up with the health of our parents back home, it induces that fear of, um, will I have to leave this and actually go help my parents through their age? Talk me through some of these fears and how did you build that strength? What were those fears for you? What did that look like so far in your journey? And how did you build that strength to build on your career while addressing those, I call them the gremlins of your mind?
Yeah. I think we were just talking about the fears which we get right from being like settling into our career when we get the job. So traditionally, I would say that in our cultures, it's like the moment you get your first job, our parents start thinking about settling us down and looking for a suitable spouse and get you married and okay, all done with the responsibilities. Now it's your call whether you want to work, you don't want to work, it's all up to you. Thankfully, I got that initial support from my husband, from my parents that laid a background for me, that my in-laws and my husband, they were supportive of that because I was already a working woman before I got married. When I got married, thankfully my mother-in-law was used to be a teacher. So kind of a family I'm coming from is they already had a woman working past 50 years back too. So that was a kind of a support, I would say, a blessing, I would say I got into. And then, yeah, the challenge did not end here. Then when I moved to US after that, I was looking for a job, and at the same time, I was looking for a support system wherein somebody can take care of my kids. So, like, that initial phase was a bit difficult because even I was settling down in my career, and also looking for a childcare support was challenging. But yeah, I think at that point of time, me and my husband, we were taking turns. He used to like push back his meetings whenever I need to go to work. I started up with some kind of a volunteer work when I came to US, and then slowly and steadily, like I settled down into my career. But yeah, there were a lot of challenges and there were fears. Like after I had my second one, I was like, no, I don't think I will be able to pursue my career anymore because two kids and the cost of the child support you pay here, that's a huge, that's a hefty amount on our pockets, right? So that was another issue. But I got one of my friend who really helped me out when I was going out for work, and yeah, and slowly and steadily I settled down, and then we came up in a position that we were able to send our daughter to the childcare, and then I had this third one, which is born close to 2 years back. So yeah, the fears, I would say that the fears will settle down once you face through it. You just have to face, you don't have to worry about it, because I believe that once you think of get the things done, everything will falls into you have to take just one step at a time. You don't have to think everything at a single point of time.
Things you touched upon, I want to bring to the surface because we don't talk about it enough, or even if when we do, we talk about it in the framework of policy. So, childcare being a very expensive resource here in the US, and unstructured childcare too, right? Like if you think about many countries in Europe, there is structured childcare where the government is providing these facilities, whereas in the US, this is pretty much a private sector, and that comes with its own risks. Do you trust some strangers to take care of your kids with no consistency in curriculum? And I think that hurts a lot because as ambitious parents, we want the best for our kids. They're
Yeah,
so precious. And especially as
right.
moms, we are always drowning in the guilt of we have not done enough for them. And having that sword hanging on your head about, oh my goodness, is this the right thing I'm doing for my kid, is itself quite a lot of pressure.
That feeling I still remember. Thank you for bringing that. Like the first time when I was sending my daughter to daycare, because I was like, I don't know, like how she would be. I was literally crying with tears that guilt I was having, like, is this something, am I doing it for myself? Just because I want to go back to work, I'm going to send her to a childcare. But I think once she started, she was enjoying a lot because she got the environment to be with other friends and the kind of schedule they were following. So I would say that the fears are just temporary. So you are fear for something which you have not seen, but once you come across, definitely everything will work. And that was the best decision I took because definitely I cannot give her that kind of environment by keeping her at home because she's learning more when she's going outside, mingling around with her friends. And the people who are taking the responsibility of the childcare, I think they are more and more responsible. They feel accountable of their work and their duties. And I really appreciate like few people I've come across who had been supported me in raising my kids when I was away for work. They were just doing their due diligence. They used to send me the videos of my daughters playing around, eating, so that I'm not worried when I'm at work. I was at peace when I used to see them, okay, they are playing, they are not crying, they are happy. So that phase we went through, and I do understand the fear which I hear from other people too. And I always tell my other friends too. So believe me, if you are sending your kids out, they will be more than happy because you are given an environment to grow, and definitely you have the weekends to be with them. It's not that kind of a guilt you feel. Eventually, whatever you're doing is for your family, right? Even you're working for your family to give them the better future. It's not just you are only thinking about your career.
There is an interesting statistical data that 80, 98% of women want to return to work after maternity leave, but only 13 believe it is viable to do so full time. And you got back to work. If I remember correctly, you told me that it was just 5 months after you gave birth to your third daughter, and you went back to work. And I imagine you have a quite fast-paced environment at Microsoft. Can you tell us a little bit what did those first weeks actually felt like after turning back to work?
Sure. Where to start? The first weeks, there was a whirlwind for me. I was going back to work after 5 months. I was in my postpartum phase, and you're recovering. And then at the same time, worried about how would I go back and start. And there were some fears like, what if I'm left behind with the current technology and the tools which I was working on? Because 5 months is a huge gap, and along with your this taking care of the baby, you're already not in that mode of working. But yeah, my existing team where I was already working and took a break for the maternity, they were already welcoming me to join them back. So that was a huge kind of motivation for me to getting back and joining the same people I used to work with. And it took me a less time to ramp up on the project because I was already a part of the same team and the same project. And but it was not easy. There were curveballs, and but we did manage because I had a nanny for initial days, so she used to support me during my work hours. And after that, like if I need to take a break, then my husband used to be the babysitter at least for a while. I took a nap or something. Yeah. And my two elder daughters, they are always there to help me out, like taking care of their younger siblings. So I would say that if you think of getting back to work after your break from maternity, then you should have a proper support system. You can lean on others and then just believe on your own resilience.
It takes a village, like they say, and you should not be afraid of
Yeah,
seeking that help, right?
correct.
Yeah, it reminds me of this movie. My family and I, we were watching. Our spring break just started yesterday, and so to celebrate, we started with a movie night. And we watched a movie. It's a long word. It's the boy, the horse, the mole, and the fox. And there's a dialogue in the movie where the kid asks the horse, "What's the bravest thing you've ever done?" And he said, "I asked for help."
Awesome.
I had never looked at it that way, and it just changed my whole perspective. It's a feedback I get a lot at work. Is like, you should ask for more help. Don't try to do it all. And the way it resonated was like, okay, because asking for help doesn't mean that you gave up. It actually means that you're refusing to give up, and that's why you're asking for more help. So it applies a lot to, especially when both the parents are working with equal ambitions. I want to emphasize here that there isn't a one size fits all or one rule that fits all. There's so much myth, and my daughter is 10 now. Topic has come out at least 100 times with different families who are going to have kids or thinking about having kids.
Oh, yeah.
Of do you do a nanny? Do you do a
Yeah.
daycare? And I always say, each kid is unique. Like some
Correct.
want that social stimulation, and some are, you don't want them to get that social stimulation too early in life. It might hamper their growth. So each kid is unique, and there is no right answer. It's
Yeah.
what works for that family. My daughter went to daycare when she was 4 months old, and I did the biggest mistake, which I do not recommend anyone to ever do. You do not switch jobs
Right.
and become a mother at the same time.
Correct.
This is the worst thing you can do to yourself. When you're switching two roles, two very pivotal roles that you hold very important in your life, at the same time, you're putting yourself through a grindstone, and
Right.
it's going to take a while to recover from that. So I enjoyed hearing how your old team that you were working with, they welcomed you back,
Yeah.
and it gave you the comfort that I can go back and be a valuable part of this team. So fantastic. Let's pivot to a topic which is something I experienced, and I want to hear Uzma, your experience on the way the society, right, and the corporate world looks at a working mother,
Mm-hmm.
the impressions that we live with. I'll give a few examples to get us a little like a warm up session for this. When the happy hours are scheduled at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
and you go like, well, that's the exact time when I'm giving a bath to my baby. How do I step out? Or when your manager tells you that, or a prospective manager that, oh, this is a very easy job. You'll be able to leave at 3 and pick up your kids like most moms do. So, but I'm curious, what are some of these impressions that you witnessed in your career?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think I should start up with, so I have worked in India as well as in US, and I would say that there's a huge cultural difference, and I think mostly the moms are being judged like for leaving early or they have to pick up the kids and so, but I think all the working moms, they are doing not even their 100%, 200% to make sure that their jobs are running, especially when they are, especially in the tech industry, I would say, because you need to be very flexible. You don't have like 8 to 5 kind of working hours. If you are required, you're working after 5 too. Like we had been working late nights too, like because I have my team in India. So I'm like, I don't have a fixed working hours. So we all are working in a different time zones. And the kind of a myth we have, like the working moms, they don't give their 100% because they have to leave at 5 and then they're gone. It's not like that. So I would say that it's the quality that matters. It's not the amount of hours you're investing. And especially like the kind of a flexibility you will give the working moms, they will be able to sustain more. You won't see many transitions, you won't see many attrition rates. If I give example of myself, like sometimes we do have kind of spring breaks, as you mentioned, and we have those parent teacher meeting kind of days where kids come back school after half day. So in those days, and my manager is very much understandable. I usually go for a half day and I come back and work rest of the day from home. So the kind of flexibility I'm getting is something which is getting me going. And, I would say that if that flexibility is not there, then I don't think most of the moms would be able to achieve that ambition of being a career woman or being a working woman. So that is very, very important, I would say. And talking about that myth that, they don't give their 100% or they've been judged for leaving early, I would say that one should just ignore. If you are believing yourself that you're doing your work and you are coming up with expectations from your manager, then I don't think that those things will really matter. And I've been seeing that things have been changing a lot from we used to see
Very
10
much so.
years back.
I agree. And you're right. Without that, there is practically no way that a lot of us would be able to manage this.
When we were talking, I just remembered one interesting story. So I was in a park with my daughter, and I met another father in a park, and he was with two kids, and we started a conversation, and it turned out that he had another two kids back home, so he had four, and I have only one child, also a daughter, and sometimes it's a little bit difficult to manage even one child. So it was interesting for me to know what it's like having four kids. And he told me, so when one of his children eats dog food, it's a problem of a dog. And for me, it was like a great joke. It was really funny. I started laughing, and then I looked him in the eye, and for a second, I realized that he wasn't actually joking. It was,
Yeah.
yeah, and this is a good entry point to talk a little bit about what it's like living a real life with three kids. So, Uzma, can you walk us a little bit around your maybe usual work day? When does it start? How it usually goes? When it ends? For people maybe considering having a kids or having their second child or third child, can you tell us how it looks like in real life?
Sure. I would love to share that. So I usually start my day early so that I can have some time for myself. I can have at least a cup of coffee peacefully before the chaos starts. Yeah. So I usually wakes up around 6 or 7 in the morning, and then I do prepare lunches for my daughters, and then I just hop back to my laptop and check onto my emails. And sometimes I do have meetings early morning. And then by that time, my kids are ready to go to school. And like we take turns, like sometimes, depending on the meetings, me or my husband, we do the pick and drops for school. And yeah, and once I'm done with my work, like at the middle of the day around kind of, 4-ish, my little one, she comes back from daycare, and then I take a break. I settle her down, just play a little bit with her. And then me and my husband, we do some kind of, chit chatting at least for 30 minutes, although we don't have much time to get along because he is also like, most of the time working from home. So we don't get much time to talk a lot. Our kids, either they have to go for their extra classes or for any soccer practices. So kind of that commitments are there, and then dinner, and then usually I do have some of my late night calls with the offshore team. And in the meantime, like my husband takes care of my little one, he puts her to bed, or sometimes when I wrap up early, I try to put her to bed, and then that's how it goes. Like it's all about taking the turns and getting the things going. Yeah, and I would say, yeah, I have heard a lot from my very close friends too. They are that fear of having a family or not having kids is just because it might impact their career. I would say that if really, really want to keep this momentum going, because I have seen the females, I will give an example of my mom. She took she spent her entire life raising us, that she took such a huge career break that she never came back to work. And now she's like, when we all are grown up, we have settled down in our own lives, she's so alone that she keeps complaining that I don't have anything to do. You guys are all gone, and she's missing us because she does not have anything to keep her busy. So I would say for women's especially, just don't spend your life entirely just keeping on the family and the childcare and raising them. Eventually, you will be all alone when they will grow up. You will be left with that gap wherein you won't be able to come back again to your career. So that thing that really hurts me, because I see her being alone, because I cannot help her out. I don't want anyone to have that much of gap in their careers that they cannot even switch back. Even if you are planning for a baby, have a baby, go by the flow. Everything will work eventually for you. There will always, always, always be something there to work on. Always something will be there to help you. Even for me, initially when I was not getting any childcare, I had my friends who really helped me out to take care of my daughter at least for a couple of hours. That was really helpful, and that really helped me keep going. Just don't stop. That is the one of the messages I want to give to any of the women who really want to work.
No, that's so true. And I think our moms should be friends, Uzma. I have a very similar story of my mom gave up her career. She was a teacher and she was really good at it. And this is what hurts the most about it for me, is like she was a very good teacher and she should have continued, but for, you know, the responsibilities of the household, and my dad was in a traveling profession for a while. And when I look back, there are moments where I feel if she was just continuing to even tutor some of the kids, there would be so much more purpose in her life. And you don't even have to be at that age to actually realize that. A lot of my friends are going to soon become empty nesters. Their kids
Yeah.
are going to college, and all that they did so far was all about their kids and making sure that they had all the time in the world to give to these kids. And they are going to college. They're not going to be there anymore. So it's you can always pick up. You know, there's another side of this coin, is that if you have high agency and you're somebody who has got the drive, you'll go and find something to do. And the sacrifices that you make a little early in your life will come bite you a little later when things might not be and proper for you to actually jump back into the workforce. When you were talking about how sometimes I'd say these very critical moments which you cannot plan for. So Igor knows this. About a month or so ago, I was in the swarm of a lot of code reds and code yellows at my workplace. And the first night that happened, it was around 6:30. I was supposed to help my daughter, help my husband ferry my daughter to the taekwondo class and back. It's usually him. That evening, it was my turn. And I could not even text him because my phone was at my desk and I was in a meeting which was just not ending. And I couldn't even let him know that I can't make it, right? And it was that weird crisis of a situation where everything falls apart and I had to make an excuse. I was like, I just need to get some water. Quickly texted him and said, somehow this crisis needs to be averted and you're gonna have to and it's just so reassuring when you come back home and kind of dinner is ready for you. He's taken care of the dinner for my daughter. She's in bed. And yeah, you realize, okay, I must have done something right in life. Okay, let's go into one of the very hard-hitting questions from our listeners. And I think you touched upon it a little bit, but let's talk a little bit about what advice we can give to our spouses and husbands who are the pillars of support for us as we build these careers and these lives around our aspirations, our family's aspirations. And so one of our listeners is basically a male and saying, I'm a husband and I'm worried that my wife will lose career momentum if we have a second child. What concrete things can I do before, during, and after her maternity leave to support her return and keep her career growing?
Good question. Well, I can hear that from that question, like the worry he is having. I would say that before she's going to maternity leave, I discuss clearly with her, like what are her career goals, what are her ambitions, and is she interested to come back to work? And if so, what are her concerns when she is willing to come back to work? If she's concerned about the gap in her career, or she's concerned about who will take care of the kids, or how she will be able to juggle between the family and the work. So I think that are some of the candid questions that needs to be asked from her. And in that scenario, if she's concerned about the juggling between the two, I would say that as a spouse, you should step up and help her in any of the household work if she's concerned about. Or maybe we have kind of a lot of mothers helpers around in US now. Initially we don't, but now I think we have a lot of trend of having those hiring mothers helpers. They are good enough to help you. I wouldn't say that it will be all 100%, but just try to be flexible, whatever support you're getting these days. And secondly, if she is concerned about the career gaps, maybe while during she's on her maternity leave, try to maybe in some time, maybe she can start looking over some of the blogs, or she can start doing some online researching and start keeping her in touch with what's going on with the industry trends. And later, when if she is deciding to come back to work, then before she joins back, you should really appreciate her, the decision she is taking to go back to work, that courage she's showing up. And lots of times I have seen a lack of appreciation from either of the partners, which leads to that, a low in confidence I have seen mostly in women's. They're doing a lot, they're working, they are doing everything for the family, but end of the day, they do not get any kind of appreciation from their partners. So just try to appreciate them, a kind of a motivation they would feel that it's not only you who is contributing for the family, she is also who is taking that courage to, along with the kids, she is also contributing in the for your financially as well, for the better future of the children. So kind of these things, I think they are really good pointers for someone to go for a long term. And having an open communication really helps out, because the other side, I have seen some of my friends, they do suffer silently. They just don't open up what they are actually looking for. They just they are just frustrated with something or the other. They don't even ask for help. Like, okay, if you need help, you're expecting something from your partner to work for you, just openly ask for it, that I need some help right now, I won't be able to manage it. Because sometimes we think that we can expect everything from the others without letting them know what we are expecting. So just try to be open with your expectations and the communications, and that will go for a long term. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great advice. Have to take notes and also think in my own life. Before we dive into our last question from our listeners, I wanted to share and a different perspective with you. So you mentioned both of your moms were able to leave job and take care of their kids. I had a little bit different situation in my family. So I come from Eastern Europe, from Ukraine, and in our country and in our culture in general, it's very common to stay with kids for a really long time. So for us, it's really common to have a maternity leave for 3 years, 4 years, and sometimes even 7 years. Why 7 years? Because actually kids go to school at 7 back in Ukraine, and it was considered in society that you're a bad mom if you leave your child before the age of 7. It was might sound a little bit weird, but it was actually a very, very heavy expectation from society that you have to be with your child until she goes to school. And if you go to work earlier, basically it means you're a bad mom. And for example, my mom had to go to back to work a little bit earlier because she was a single mom. So at some point she had to take care not only of me and my younger brother, but she also had to support us financially. So she had to go back to work and didn't have that luxury of staying with kids for a really long time. But still, she had a really long maternity leave. So it was. Yeah, and it's a story I wanted to share with you to ask one of the questions from our audience. So another of our listeners shared the following question: work-life balance always centers around moms, but what about the system around them? And they wanted to ask you, Uzma, specifically, what helped you the most at your home, inside your company, and maybe in a wider sense in public policy to be able to get back to work and sustain normal lifestyle of your family?
Yeah, sure. So from the work-life balance, I would say for me as an individually, what I think works for me the best is the planning and the prioritizations you have to do before you start your day. And especially if from the wider role, I would say that if you are going to be a parent or as a new mom, make sure that you have all the kind of support you need, either from your partner or from outside or from your friends or from your family. That is something you need to do some kind of a work. And then you make sure that you have everything in place. But yeah, as I said, that one step at a time, if you're thinking that you're going to for a leave or you're going for a maternity leave, try to make sure that how many months of leave does your company allows, and in case if you need to do some extensions, I think managers are always helpful. They do understand in such situations where most of the women's take time to heal up with their postpartum phases and all that. There are always some kind of extensions from the families too, from the companies too, in terms of work. And secondly, uh, from your work life balance, from your home perspective, I truly believe that a supporting husband is always there to get the things going and help you whenever you think that you need a support. Then definitely talk openly to your spouses. And from the policies perspective, I would say that we should always have some kind of supported childcare, kind of benefits to be added from the workplaces. And also, we should also try to make sure that if we are planning for a baby, we should have enough amount of support we can get from the families too, in case, like, suppose for the initial days you're not able to get some kind of a reliable nanny or reliable childcare, and you're in need of to go back to work, then kind of some kind of homework you need to do before you are barging into that situation.
Yeah. Lots of interesting topics today, Uzma. I was just jotting down the wealth of knowledge that you shared with us and the wisdom, starting from the inner voice and making sure that that's crystal clear. It doesn't let those gremlins come in the middle of it. I love that. It applies to so many situations. Forging ahead, I think you very clearly emphasized it will not be easy, but you've got to just keep moving. It takes a village. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Help is the bravest thing that we can do. I think that's a very, very critical part of this. It does take a village. And I don't know anybody, any family that was able to do it without that village.
Okay.
Just know that and keep it in your plans as you go ahead. And just what I really enjoyed also was the conversation you were having about the flexibility in planning when you are discussions, open communication with of course your partners and your managers and your companies, but also the flexibility in that planning. Because sometimes people say, hey, did you have a rule book you follow on how you make it work between your husband and you? And as much as either of us would like to structure it, it is very unstructured. It's on the day basis. For example, the code red situation that I mentioned, or, there's so many such situations where things will fall apart. And it is our resilience, it is our strength that we bring, to your point earlier, of just forging through, making sure that this is today is like this, but tomorrow might be different. And it's in our hands to do it. As we wrap, curious if there are any tools, practices, blogs that help you stay grounded as a woman in tech.
I told you, like, we do a couple of times, we do chat over text messages and all, to keep me and my husband at the same page. So in order to make things easy, we have created a WhatsApp group, just two of us, and we do share some grocery lists or some of the stuff that needs to be picked up or needs attention. And I do most of the time use the Google Calendar to send him the meeting invites, events where we both have to be there, so that he can block his calendar too, and he knows that this is something coming up. Yeah. So this one more thing, Google Notes also, that keeps me going. Just for me to jot down anything, like, immediately I need something that needs to be done. Kind of a to-do list is there for me on my phone.
Quite the planner you are. Makes complete sense given your role as a program manager. All right. And last question. If people want to connect with you and follow your journey and learn about how to bravely go out in the world and enjoy the thriving community of kids, but also your profession, how should they reach out to you?
Sure. They can reach out to me on LinkedIn. They can send me messages, or I can share my email ID with you.
Well, thank you so much. This is such a heartfelt topic for being a mom, but also just in general, something that, as we talk about diversity in tech, it's important for us to have a space for everyone. And stories like yours, Uzma, give us so much hope and give us so much strength in terms of if we have the right policies, we have the right mindset, we have the right spouses, sometimes mother-in-laws, we can actually, right, who set examples, and we can actually do a lot more than the world expects a working mom to do, to be able to do. So thank you again. Fantastic conversation, and good luck. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
your daughters are going to grow up to be just as inspiring and aspiring as you are. And
Sure.
congratulations on being a great woman in tech and setting a wonderful example for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for setting up this background and giving the opportunity to speak up. I think it gives me a confidence that it's not only me. We have many other women who are at the same age and the same kind of situations wherein we all are juggling and struggling to get the things aligned with the family and the work. Thank you so much. I appreciate both of you.